Parents, everyone in the community, we need to have patience for these children. They can do much.
One of the missions we spread as FMDMs in Zambia is that we help children with disabilities through education and other support.
Nipula kumanga nyumba, mangia bamai banga.
Hello dear viewers, welcome to Children with a Disability. The aim of this program is to educate the audience on disability issues, also to promote the strength and potential of different abled children. Today we look at early intervention and why it matters. My name is Macy, I am your presenter, and with me right here is Mr. Kapambwe Chikontwe. Sir, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Sir, who is Mr. Chikontwe? Maybe people are surprised, why are we featuring you here?
Okay, so Mr. Chikontwe is a mission partner who works with the FMDMs in Zambia. Yes, as a mission partner, I help with formation of lay employees. So when I use the word mission partner, it's simply staff who is employed by the sisters to help them spread the mission. Yeah, and one of the missions we spread as FMDMs in Zambia is that we help children with disabilities through education and other support for the family and the like. So I operate as a mission partner in this capacity. Yes, in other capacities, I'm a neuropsychologist, a human resource personnel, an accountant, but in this kind of an interview, I act as a neuropsychologist, so that we dive into the topic for today.
Okay, so before we go into the topic, when you say you are employed by the sisters, which sisters are we talking about?
The FMDM sisters, Franciscan missionaries of the Divine Motherhood.
Yeah, you did well, almost as since you just said the initials.
Okay, yes.
Okay, so we get started. Early intervention and why is it critical for children with disabilities?
Okay, thank you so much. So as we know, we have children with disabilities, and if there's a way that these children and their families can be supported, is starting with the actual prevention. So prevention in this sense does not mean that these children will not be born with disabilities, but there's a way that we can enhance their livelihood a bit earlier. So these intervention programs, we are talking about structured systems that are put in place to support children from, let's say, in pregnancy up to the 36th month. Okay, after they are born. So from birth to about 3 years. So these systems simply put aim to either minimize or to detect or to enhance their potential at an early age than to wait until it's too late.
Okay.
Yeah, so these are the interventions. And why is it important? I think that's the question that you are saying.
Yes.
So the first one is first to screen for these disabilities. Okay? And for mothers, I'm ever insisting that it's critical that once I know I'm expecting, I go for all the lined up kind of interventions at the hospitals. Okay, where I get screens, I get my blood tested, I get all the medications that are required for the development of that child. That is an aspect of early intervention. So it's important for screening. Also, it's important that we are able to detect the communication deficits in a child, the mobility deficits in a child, neurodevelopmental aspect of the child will be able to be detected earlier. That's why these interventions are critical.
Okay. So, so I have two questions. First, my question is, are all the hospitals and the clinic providing this screening, and at what point in the pregnancy is a mother supposed to do the screening? Okay.
So all hospitals and clinics do have a section for
it's compulsory.
Yes, it's compulsory.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah. I'm sure the mothers out there would agree with me that under 5 and prenatal services in all hospitals, And the earliest a mother gets to the health facility for the normal routine as you're expecting, one of the things that is done is, I'm sure the mothers will agree with me, they even feel the development of the fetus by physical touch of the pregnancy. As the child turned, if the child is born, under 5 is the actual place of initial screening before referral can be done to other departments. So under 5 will be screening for language.
Okay.
If the child who is 2 years able to say tata or mama or something, that's part of the screening. Is this child able to play around with others? That's part of screening. Because when we see deficits in those areas, then we know that we need to refer to special departments or specialists.
Oh, okay. Interesting. How can parents and caregivers recognize the signs that a child might need early intervention?
Okay, thank you so much. So this is very critical, because the more knowledge and skills parents and caregivers have, the better outcomes for a child. So when we talk of disabilities, they start from an early age, isn't it?
Yes.
So there are certain aspects of development that we have to watch for. So number one is communication, which I've already, I think, alluded to.
Yes.
Is the child developing the milestones? Yes, we call them developmental milestones, isn't it? So is the child fitting in those developmental milestones in terms of communication? Are they able to communicate their needs? So by communication, I'm not saying they should be verbalized. Even crying is a developmental milestone.
Okay.
A child who doesn't cry for things, there should be something wrong.
Maybe they don't want the thing.
So if they are totally just silent and they don't cry, that's why when a child is born and they don't cry, the doctors will try to find a way of making them cry. Why? It's a developmental milestone.
Okay.
That's number one. So in terms of speech, are they able to understand?
Okay.
Are they able to verbalize? Okay. Are they able to say those little kind of sounds a child is able to say, so that we detect for delayed speech, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Apart from communication, you also talk of other behavior kind of to play with other kids. Okay. I'll give an example of some conditions where we leave a child with a stranger. Are they going to learn to play if something is wrong? Developmentally, a child left in a stranger's care must show signs that there is detachment from the loved one.
Okay.
If they don't show, it could be a disability we are talking about. Okay, so communication, learning, we have to watch. Are they learning the basics of life? Are they able to learn numbers? Are they able to pronounce letters? So all those we have to watch out. Are they kind of meeting those the milestones of life? Daily activities. A child of 2 years, 3 years should be able to begin to respond to another. So if they are not meeting those basic milestones of life, then that should be a concern for detection of a disability. Yeah. So those are some of the areas that caregivers and parents have to watch out.
Okay. Is slow learning a disability?
Yes. So that's why we're actually emphasizing on learning disability. I know there are a lot of disabilities out there, physical, learning in this sense, okay, developmental. Learning disability is when a child is unable to fit in the standard framework of learning. So things that are supposed to be learned by grade 1, you can't be learned by, say, 8 years.
Yeah.
A child who is 12 is unable to learn, then we know that they have a learning disability.
Oh, okay. So what type of early intervention services are available and how can parents access them?
Okay. So in Zambia, there are quite a number of them. Therapies will be the first one. Okay. So when you detect that there is a child may have a disability, say with speech.
Yes.
So the earliest is to start therapy, speech therapy. Yeah. So if you delay, then the disability will be difficult to to manage.
Manage.
Why are we insisting on children? Because at this point, the brain is easy adapts. Therapies are number one. Family interventions. When the family is trained on how to manage the disability of the child, that becomes in itself an early intervention. Okay. What do I mean? Their parents. So when a mother, father, or sister knows that it's not by choice, so it's not a fault that they're acting in the way they are unable to pronounce certain words. Especially when it comes to speech. Okay, if they can't verbalize certain syllables or consonants, they'll be shy to say those words. Okay, so their speech will delay in terms of what? Development.
Okay. I see. What are the long-term benefits of early interventions and the benefits to the children?
If they are preventive kind of interventions, the child will be a little bit more independent than if that wasn't implemented. So what do I mean by independence? If their issue was with maybe mobility, the inability to walk, if an intervention is made where they are able to walk, then they'll be more independent, isn't it? Speech-wise, if it's enhanced, then they'll be more independent. Isn't it? So the first aspect for children is that they will be independent and they will be able to develop mental goals once early interventions are put in place. So we've already talked about the developmental goals, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, and there will be more clearer or better outcomes for education. Okay? When we recognize a child needs braille, for instance, or they need to hear in class and learn. Okay? So for parents, the caregiver is that in the long run, once they implement all the interventions that are needed, the child needs to. Parents will be able, they wouldn't even know that there is support by government for children with disability.
Oh, okay. So it seems there are a lot of advantages to early intervention.
In fact, they are
all advantages. There's no disadvantage.
No.
Okay. So, Mr. Chikontwe, what challenges do families face in addressing early intervention, and how can this be addressed?
Okay. So the first challenge, I think, from experience is knowledge. Lack of knowledge. They don't know what needs to be done about this gift that God has done, then the child will not benefit. Now, there's a second one is the cost implications. Okay, so you are likely to frequent more hospitals. Where to find a speech therapist you may not even know, and how much is therapy per session, and how are they going to afford? So cost is also a challenge when it comes to accessing these early intervention programs, isn't it? And stigma in the community, stigma in the house. Can act as a challenge to implementing these interventions. So stigma in the sense that you begin to be called by a disability that the child, the mother with a child of this. Yes. So platforms like lamps, where people with wheelchairs can access the buildings, and also within our communities, especially in the rural, where do you find an expert? Where do you find a neurologist? Exactly. So such kind of challenges when it comes to accessing these services actually prohibit.
Okay. So how does early intervention differ from child to child?
Okay, thank you. That's actually a good question, because when we use the word CWD, children with disability, it's an umbrella term, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yes. But depending on the disability of the child, then the service and the early, probably in other programs we'll emphasize what disability is, what are the types and the like. Yes. So any system of the body can be impaired. So like if the senses are impaired, for instance, my sight, my auditory, my ability to hear. So if my disability is in the sensory area, then the interventions will focus more on assistive devices for hearing, or braille, or sign language, and interventions will be different. It's communication. So communication or learning disabilities. I'm unable to pronounce words. Okay, I have dyslexia, dyscalculia, where I fail to deal with numbers. Then my interventions will be in enhancing those aspects that I have challenges with. If it's mobility, my challenge is mobility. If it's mobility, my challenge is mobility, movement. I'm unable to move, my spine and everything. So my early intervention will be to meet those goals that will help me to move about. So it becomes a mistake to say because a child has a disability, you lump them and give them any intervention. Yeah. Okay,
so I'll take you back. You earlier said in hospitals they offer screenings. Is it in hospitals that we get assistance from, or we have certain organizations that provide the assistance?
Yeah. So the whole intervention is multifaceted, or it's multidisciplinary. Let me use that. So you don't get everything from one place. For instance, at literacies, we may not have experts in assessment. So we have neurologists, we have psychologists. For instance, I'm a clinical neuropsychologist, so I specialize very much with how the brain works and the spinal cord in a child. Okay. So I'm able to tell through speech. Okay, we have, for instance, in Zambia, we have what we call the Zambia neurobehavioral assessment tools. It's a list of tools that we use to assess a number of cognitive disabilities. Then you have experts in learning disabilities and the like. So within the hospital, they can be both assessment and assistance in terms of treatment. But other organizations, especially non-governmental, in this sense, faith-based organizations, have partnered with government so that an holistic kind of approach is offered to a child. So the hospital may assess, and the literacies or the FMDMs may help with treatment and other kind of components of intervention.
Oh, okay. So what role do healthcare providers and educators play in this early intervention?
Thank you so much. So in this case, educators and caregivers, isn't it?
Yes.
Caregivers, in this sense, we are talking about all the hospitals and the parents and the like. Caregivers do the assessment to start with. They are the people who are able to name and identify. Okay, so they do diagnosis, they do medical treatment and the like. And for educators, their job is within the primary education. I don't know if it's preschool or daycare. Their work is to identify these conditions. That's why we employ special educated teachers so that they're able to tell. So that becomes their primary role. Number one, to identify and also to refer to experts. And also they are trained in special ways on how to educate and to promote independence.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So, Mr. Chikonto, as we come to the end, maybe your words of encouragement to those people who have different able children and then they're just keeping them in their homes, they don't go with them anywhere, and also to that mother who is not going to the clinic in the early stages of their pregnancy, or maybe not taking the child for under 5. What kind of your encouragement still?
Okay. So first things first, a child is a gift from God. Okay? And life begins at conception, which means early interventions start at conception. Okay? So a child, regardless of their ability, has rights to nutrition, to food, to security, and the like. So the earlier we begin to implement those rights, the better. So in pregnancy, I go to the hospital, get checked, is the child developing, do I have the required nutrients, Am I vaccinated against major conditions? I forgot to mention this to my parents. Why those vaccinations? Because they can actually prevent certain disabilities developing in a child. Okay. Because through my my disease, for instance, HIV and AIDS, or syphilis, syphilis can actually go and infect the developing child, and the child will come and have a disability. Alcohol use, drinking of alcohol in pregnancy, zero. It shouldn't. Why? Because alcohol goes and interferes with the development of a child. A child may be born with fetal alcohol syndrome, which is a developmental condition, and it can lead to learning disabilities and a number of them. So to my mothers there, early intervention, you are promoting the health of the child, get to the hospital as early as you can, also deliver in a hospital so that there is help in case of emergencies. So when we hide them in our homes, we are depriving them of their basic life to socialize. Yeah. And once they socialize, we take them to schools, to functions, they are developing, and they are likely to live an independent life thereafter.
Okay, thank you so much for educating us. Hopefully we'll also educate our neighbors and people out there.
We have to spread the good news.
Thank you so much, sir. Well, our dear viewers, today we were talking about early intervention and why it matters. I hope you have learned a lot. I would have said one or two things, but he has actually taught us a lot. I hope you have learned something and you will take something from what we were discussing. This is all we had for you today. From me and Mr. Chikontwe, it's bye-bye.